If you use this type of unincorporated business, you will face unlimited liability. And if some startup savant in the business community tells you to set up this type of unincorporated entity, make sure to run away. Now, the type of entity I'm talking about is the sole proprietorship, and I'm about to walk you through what it is. So, as the name sounds, a sole proprietorship is an unincorporated business or an unincorporated association that only has one owner. And it says it in the name. If you operate as a sole proprietor, you're the sole owner of that business. And there's an acronym that my dad likes to use for sole proprietorships. Someday, you'll lose everything. So what are some of the features of the sole proprietorship? Well, a sole proprietorship is an entity that you don't need to register with the Secretary of State. So this means if you go out and do business on your own without performing a filing, you're automatically a sole proprietorship. As an example, let's say that you wanted to sell coffee to people, so you set up a coffee cart. If you set up that coffee cart without operating through an entity, you're automatically a sole proprietorship. What are some of the pros and cons of the sole proprietorship? Well, as I already mentioned, you don't need to file anything with the Secretary of State. And on top of that, you don't need to pay an annual filing fee like LLCs have to. You also don't need any documentation like corporate bylaws or an LLC operating agreement. But outside of that, those are the only benefits the sole proprietorship has to offer. Now, there definitely are some cons to setting up a sole proprietorship, which is why I don't recommend you do so. And I'll give you 3 reasons why we don't recommend setting up sole proprietorships. The first is that sole proprietorships don't offer any asset protection whatsoever. And this is because if your sole proprietorship is sued, you as an individual are on the hook for that lawsuit. So let's go back to the coffee cart example. If you give someone coffee and they spill it on themselves and the coffee's too hot, well, they're gonna sue you individually. And because you're operating as a sole proprietorship, you as an individual are on the hook for that judgment. And in this situation, you face unlimited liability because all of your personal assets are on the table. But if you were to operate through an entity like an LLC or a corporation, your liability would be limited to what you put into that entity. The second reason to never use a sole proprietorship is that you're 5 times more likely to be audited by the IRS. What's the best way to avoid this? Well, by setting up an entity and conducting business through that. And the third reason why we don't recommend using sole proprietorships is that the sole proprietorship ends when the owner either dies or quits. Now, this can be a problem in the future because if you operate a valuable business, you may want to either sell it to someone else or pass it on to your kids. But if you operate as a sole proprietorship, you can't do either. When you hear about a sole proprietorship, it may sound enticing, but because you as the owner of the sole proprietorship face unlimited liability, it's best to stay away from them completely. But if you have a sole proprietorship and you're sued, you could face unlimited liability, which is why we recommend setting up an incorporated business instead, like a corporation or an LLC. I also have a new book called The 5 Tricks to Teach Your Kids About Money. You can download the book for free by clicking the link in the description below. If you're looking to start a business, you can schedule a free 15-minute consultation with us at Corporate Direct by also clicking the link in the description below. And as always, please make sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment, and turn on that notification bell. And I should warn you, the contents of this video are not legal advice and no attorney-client relationship has been formed.